It started with the sound of laughter, the kind that doesn't belong in a place like this. The kind that scrapes against your nerves, cold and mocking. The diner's neon sign buzzed weakly against the evening drizzle, casting flickers of red over the parking lot. Inside, the clatter of dishes and smell of frying bacon mixed with a strange tension in the air. 3 men sat in the corner booth, loud, unbothered, and mean-looking. They weren't here for food. They were here for fun. And unfortunately, their idea of fun was about to ruin someone's night. Emily wiped her hands on her apron, her heart already uneasy. She'd seen that kind of swagger before, men who walked in with chaos written on their faces. She'd been a waitress at Miller's Diner for 3 years now, working double shifts just to pay for her younger brother's hospital bills. People came and went, stories brushed past her like the rain on the diner windows. But that night, something in her gut whispered that this one would stay. That it would change everything. The men started early, mocking the way she walked, the way she spoke, how her voice trembled just a bit when she asked for their order. "Serve us, Btch," one of them sneered, snapping his fingers as if calling a dog. The others roared with laughter, their tattoos shifting like shadows across their arms. Emily froze. Her hands shook slightly as she poured coffee into their cups. She wanted to tell them to stop, to stand up for herself, but she couldn't afford to lose this job. Not when her brother's medication cost more than she made in a week. So she smiled, a brittle, trembling thing, and whispered, "Coming right up." The other customers had gone silent. A mother with her 2 kids lowered her gaze. The cook in the back, old Joe, tightened his jaw but said nothing. Everyone knew what those men were capable of. When Emily turned to leave, one of them grabbed her wrist. "Not so fast," he said, his voice low and ugly. "You think you're too good to talk to us, huh?" Her eyes widened, fear clawing at her chest. "Please," she whispered, "I just need to do my job." That was when the door opened. The wind came first, cold and sharp, followed by the low, heavy rumble of boots on tile. A group of bikers walked in, their jackets soaked with rain, the smell of engine oil clinging to them. They weren't the rowdy, reckless kind you saw in movies. There was something different about them, calm, controlled, but carrying the kind of presence that made the air itself step back. The lead biker, a tall man with a scar tracing his jawline, looked around the diner slowly. His name was Ryan, though most people just called him Bear. His eyes landed on Emily's wrist, still held by the thug. His voice, when it came, was quiet but edged with steel. "You might want to let go of the lady." The thug snorted. "Who the hell are you supposed to be?" Bear didn't answer. He just took a slow step forward, the floorboards creaking beneath his boots. His crew followed, 5 men, each built like stone. They didn't need to raise their voices. Their silence spoke louder than any threat. Emily stepped back, her breath shallow. She didn't know these men. But something about them, the way they stood, the way they didn't smirk or sneer, made her feel, for the first time that night, safe. The diner fell silent again, the hum of the fluorescent lights the only sound. "You should apologize," Bear said evenly, "before this gets messy." The thug laughed, but the sound died when Bear's gaze didn't waver. He saw something in that look, something dangerous. Slowly, he let go of Emily's wrist and muttered, "Wasn't serious, man. Just having fun." Bear didn't blink. "She doesn't look like she's having fun." Emily rubbed her wrist, eyes glistening with unshed tears. She wanted to say thank you, but the words caught in her throat. The bikers sat down at the counter quietly. They didn't say much after that, just ordered coffee and pie. But the energy in the room had shifted. The thugs stayed quiet, suddenly finding their plates fascinating. When the check came, Bear slid a few bills onto the counter, more than enough to cover everyone's meals. "Keep the change," he said softly, meeting Emily's eyes. "For the trouble." She tried to speak, but her voice broke. All she could do was nod, tears finally slipping free. When the bikers left, the door swung shut behind them, leaving only the faint scent of rain and gasoline. But the night wasn't over. Outside, the thugs waited, anger simmering in their veins. Pride wounded, they weren't about to let some biker embarrass them in front of everyone. They waited by their truck, gripping crowbars and chains. Inside, Emily finished her shift in silence, her mind heavy. She couldn't shake the image of Bear's calm eyes, the quiet strength in his voice. She didn't know why strangers like that would step in for someone like her, but maybe that's what made it beautiful. When she finally closed up and stepped into the night, she saw them, the thugs, waiting, going somewhere. "Sweetheart, one of them sneered. She froze, terror freezing her in place. The parking lot was empty except for their truck and the faint glow of the diner's neon sign flickering behind her, and then, another sound. The deep, familiar growl of motorcycle engines echoing through the wet night. Bear's voice cut through the air like thunder. "I told you to let it go." The thugs turned, startled. The bikers had returned, headlights cutting through the rain, their presence massive and unrelenting. Emily's eyes widened as she realized they'd come back for her. The fight that followed wasn't wild or cinematic. It was quick, precise, almost silent. The thugs tried, but they didn't stand a chance. Within moments, they were on the ground, their bravado shattered, their weapons scattered in the mud. Bear stood over them, breathing hard, but his voice was calm. "You mess with one of us," he said, "you answer to all of us." Emily covered her mouth, tears streaming freely now, not from fear, but relief. When it was over, Bear turned to her, his eyes softening. "You okay?" She nodded, unable to find her voice. He gave a small smile. "Good. Then go home safe. And don't let anyone make you feel small again." She watched them ride off into the darkness, their taillights fading like embers in the rain. That night, Emily drove home with her heart pounding, not from fear, but from something new. Something fierce. For the first time, she realized that strength doesn't always come from fighting back. Sometimes, it comes from being seen, from knowing someone out there thinks you're worth defending. The next morning, she looked at herself in the mirror before her shift. The bruises on her wrist were still there, but they didn't feel like marks of weakness anymore. They felt like reminders that even in the worst moments, good people still exist. That courage can ride in on two wheels and leave a trail of hope behind. And when she stepped back into the diner, her head held high, she knew one thing for sure: no one would ever make her feel powerless again, because that night, she had seen what it meant to be protected by strangers, and she'd learned to believe in her own strength too.